Warrant Commission Annual Reorganization Meeting. It is Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. This is a remote meeting, a Zoom webinar. If you would like to participate, please log into our Zoom webinar link, which is on our website, and we'll give instructions later in the meeting for how to participate for public and press. I'd like to call the roll, please. Bill Bruce.
Here.
Jim Ferraro.
Here.
Lauren Fitzpatrick.
Here.
George Hertz.
Here.
Angela Hughes. Peter Iddig.
Here.
Caitlin Jerzak.
Here.
Tom Kilgariff.
Here.
George Laham.
Here.
Diane McCarthy.
Here.
Is Nadine with us? Not yet. Christina.
Here.
Chris Pareda.
Here.
And Alex Yale.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome. Did everybody who was get sworn in with Dottie?
I had with a previous committee, so I assume that counts, or is it?
Have you? I'm sorry, Alex.
I'm on another committee, so I had been for that committee, but not specifically for this. I don't know.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
We can regroup after. I would like to introduce our moderator, Jim O'Sullivan, who is going to introduce our new members to us. So thanks for being with us, Jim. Go right ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for serving. It's a lot of work. I really appreciate all of you who have done it over the last 2 and 3 years. I'm glad and appreciate those who have agreed to sign on again. We have 4 new members this year. We have Alex Yale and Christina Padajevitz, Mike Gay, and Nadine Mujahid. And I'm having trouble with my computer, so I'm going to have them introduce themselves and give their background. I had it, but I can't find it. I can tell you that Nadine is a Westwood High graduate, and she goes to that bastion of liberal legal education, Northeastern, graduating next year. Same school I went to, good school. But maybe Christina and Alice can introduce themselves.
Sure, I'll go next. So my name is Christina. I actually just moved to Westwood a little over a year ago. I've spent the last 15 years in investment compliance at hedge funds, broker-dealers, and investment advisors. And then I have my graduate degree in public administration and my undergraduate degree from McGill in Montreal in history and politics.
Great. Hey, everybody. Alex Yale here. Just moved to Westwood in August, so coming up on a year at the end of the summer. Moved from Manhattan. Currently work for a tech startup called Thrasio based in Walpole. I've been there just 3 months. And then before that, I was at Facebook for the past 6 years, and then consulting with Deloitte and a few other firms prior to that. So studied international business and IT down at American University in Washington, DC. And yeah, glad to be on the committee, and thanks for allowing me to join.
We are happy to have you. Jim, I don't see Nadine, and Mike Gay had a previous commitment, so he's not here. And I haven't seen Nadine come in yet.
Okay. Just for the benefit of the newer members, I appoint you, but you really won't hear from me much. I'm not trying to influence your vote or your efforts. I would hope that I would hear from you if there's a hot button issue coming out of FinCom for a town meeting or special town meeting, just so I can be prepared. But I like to appoint good people and let you do your work. All I ask is that you may not agree with everyone else on the commission, but please listen to them. Everybody's got a different perspective. We all bring something different, and I think that benefits the town.
Jim, would you like us to have members just introduce themselves, so Alex and Christina could just get very briefly just your name and how long you've served on FinCom, anything else you'd like to add? We could go, would it make most sense if I just call your name and you could just introduce yourself?
Sounds like a plan.
Bill Bruce.
Hi, welcome, Bill Bruce. I've been on FinCom now 2 years. I've been a Westwood resident for 7 years.
Thanks, Bill. Jim Ferraro.
Yeah, I think I've been on 8 years. I'm losing track. Been a Westwood resident for a little over 20 years, and I'm an attorney in Cambridge, specializing in real estate.
Thanks, Jim. Lauren.
Hi, Lauren Fitzpatrick, and I've been on FinCom for 3 years, and I'm going to be serving my second term. And I've been in Westwood now, oh, it's actually 10 years exactly. So welcome.
Thank you, Lauren. George Hertz.
Hi, first of all, welcome to the new members. I'm George Hertz. I've been on FinCom, I have to admit, for now 17 years, and signed up for another 3 years because I care deeply about our town. I'm retired right now, but very active in the nonprofit world, serve on the several foundation boards, and enjoy spending a lot of time on Westwood issues. So welcome to the new members.
Thanks, George. Peter Ittig.
Yes, welcome to new members. I'm Peter Ittig. This is my 3rd year on the Finance and Warrant Commission. I've been a resident of Westwood for about 30 years. I'm now retired. I was a professor for many years at the University of New York at Buffalo, and then NYU, and most recently at UMass in Boston. And I'm looking forward to a productive year with the Finance Commission. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin Jurzak. I've been on FinCom for 2 years, and I live in Westwood since 2012. I've got 3 kids in the school district. I'm in investment compliance and risk, and I'm very excited to welcome everyone to the committee.
Thanks, Caitlin. Tom Kill.
Hi, guys. Welcome, folks, to the committee. Tom Kilgariff. I grew up in Westwood, and outside of a few years after school, I've lived here most of my life, and we have 3 kids that have all gone through the Westwood schools, and this is my 5th year on FinCom, and looking forward to another good year. So welcome, and great to have you.
Thanks, Tommy. George Laham.
Hi, welcome to all the new members. I've been on the FinCom for a year. Much like Tom, I've been in Westwood, not my whole life, but 36 years. So I'm the controller at the Harvard Club of Boston, and I own my own tax practice. I got 3 kids. 2 of them are at the Downey, and 1 of them is at the School of Being Potty Trained. So that's I'd rather them be at the Downey, quite frankly. But that's it.
Thanks, George. Diane McCarthy.
Hi, welcome. I have been on FinCom. I'm going on to my 2nd term. We've lived in town for, I guess, about 13 years. We have twins who are graduating from Westwood High this year, off on really great adventures. And I've been chairing the Education Subcommittee of FinCom for quite a few years, which I think we're going to be focusing a lot on education the beginning of this year.
Thank you, Diane. And Chris Pareda.
Hi, welcome to the new members. Like Tom, I'm also a lifelong resident of Westwood, born and raised here, went through the school system here, served in the military for a period of time, and then came back with my family. And we've been most recently here since 1990 or more, or earlier than that, I guess 1986, I guess. I lose track. But I am an attorney. I'm a retired federal attorney. I practice in aviation law. I worked with the Federal Aviation Administration for 25 years before I retired.
Thank you so much, Chris. Jim, do you have any other Anything else for us, or shall I move on?
You can move on. Thank you, Jane.
Jim, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you coming in every year and for bringing us 4 great new members. This is going to be a great year for us. Thanks, Jim. It is my privilege now to introduce for the my chair for the other half of my job, which is I'm the staff person for the Westwood Affordable Housing and the Westwood Housing Authority. Lou Rizzoli is with us, and he just wanted to spend a few minutes, I think, giving an overview and bringing members up to speed. We didn't want to wait to have Lou have this conversation because we have so much ahead of us in the fall for the new school. So there were members had asked several times this year if we could have WAHA, the chair for WAHA and the Housing Authority, come and just give us a brief overview and sort of get members up to speed and what WAHA has been doing. So it's my pleasure to introduce Lou to everybody. Lou Rizzoli.
Thank you very much, Jane, and thank you all members of FinCom. WAHA is a group. First of all, I'm going to be brief this evening. I'm happy to stay and answer questions if you want. I could really bore you for hours about housing, but I promise not to. So back in 1986, I think it was, and I've been a resident of Westwood for more than 40 years. A developer came in and was going to buy the Westwood Lodge and said that he was going to put up 300 condos and that he was going to do this under what we call Chapter 40B, which the Affordable Housing Act, the law which was passed in 1969, says every community in Massachusetts should have 10% of its housing as affordable. And if they don't, a developer can come in and come up with what we call an unfriendly 40B that the town doesn't agree with. So this developer came in and said, I want to put 300 condominiums in where the Westwood Lodge is. And everybody, so the selectman asked me if I'd share this since I have somewhat of a background in this area. And I did. And they said, well, we don't allow condos in Westwood. At least at that time we didn't. And yeah, and what is this going to do to the school system? What's it going to do to the sewer system and the water and the traffic? Oh my God, we can't have 300 condos back there. And I said, guys, let me tell you, guys and gals, it's the local needs test goes out the window. And that's it. You know, we can fight it and we can try to say that, you know, this is not a good development for Westwood, but this is what the law is, and we better be prepared for a big battle because the developers have a history of winning when they appeal the decision of the town, which is adverse to them. So what happened was the developer realized that we were going to go to town and we were going to fight them tooth and nail. And they backed off on it. And what happened was that we have now their Chase Estates. And that's called the LIP project, which is the local initiative project that goes through where the town and the developer go in as partners to DHCD, which is Dedham Housing Community Development. And there's 75 market rate units and 25 affordable units there. I think it's worked out very well. The market rate units are selling for at least $1.5 million. So the affordable aspect of it that didn't do anything to have the market rate units go down in value. But what happened was that when we applied to DHCD, probably now in '88, the market rate units had to sell for 500 to 600,000. By the time everything got through, the market had increased, and the developer came in and said, "Well, take this one with a grain of salt." But for another 100 to 200,000, you can't believe how beautiful the houses will be that I'll be able to put up. And so we'd like you to sign this agreement with us and allow us to collect that. We then showed all sorts of pictures of how beautiful it was going to be. So I said to the selectmen at the time, this is the one time only that you're ever going to be in a position where you are in total charge of this. If you don't agree with this, the units are going to sell for between 500 and 600. They want to sell them for between 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. I've forgotten the exact figures. So let's get something from the developer. So we approached a developer and said, okay, for every market rate unit that that you sell, we want $10,000 to be put into a low-income housing trust fund so we can build affordable ones. And I noticed there's no shortage of lawyers on FinCom like myself, so you'll learn a lesson. The developer told me then that that was extortion and that I couldn't ask for that kind of money. And I said, okay, I must have missed this in criminal law, but this is not extortion. So let's go at it. So I'm going to recommend to the selectmen that they say no. So then he came back with 5,000, and guess what? We settled at 7,500 for the middle. So we then set up a fund, and it was just in the general fund for the town, and then decided that we had money there. And in 1994, I set up this nonprofit called WAHA, Westwood Affordable Housing Associates. And we bought the first house on Grafton Avenue. And so since then, I was off the housing for a number of years. I was assessor in town, but I like to say it's, but I've been recycled back to housing. So here I am. But it's we've really done well, and your administrator here is the brains behind our outfit here at this. So we do really well since we have Jane O'Donnell with us. And we have 13 units now in the town. They're all spread out. We own 9 houses, and we're pretty much, we bought 2 houses last year. Those are single family houses, and we go through a process, a lottery. And as each one of these units that we have tenants go in them, we make sure that they income qualify, and we get credit on the SHI, which is the subsidized housing inventory. So I don't know, in September, we'll find out what our population is exactly and how many units we have in affordable housing. But we've managed to do pretty well with what I like to see, spreading out these units. I mean, I grew up in Milford, Mass, and my first job in the summer in high school was to cut the grass at the Luby Avenue project. And that's what everyone referred to it as. It's the project. And we've really done, I think, a pretty good job of not having the stigma of that's the project, that's where it is. And that's what we hope to continue. The town has been very gracious in the past, giving us money to buy units in hopes that we can get to the 10%. And if we're not, we're going to be damn close to that 10%. So with that, I'll take questions if you want. I just wanted to give you a background of how it started and where we are. Oh, let me just say one last. I was just on the phone last week, as Jay knows, with one of the directors at the Division of Department of Housing and Community Development. Excuse me. And I told her what we've done, spread it out, and she said to me, "Oh my God, Lou, you've done this without any state funds, without any federal funds, and either the money's come from the town or the money has come from developers. I mean, this is really good." And threw out the question and she didn't commit herself to it. I said, well, I hope that means if we don't get to the 10%, the DHCD will take this into consideration if we have an adverse 40B developer coming in. And she said, I can't promise you anything, but I can tell you they'll take it into serious consideration. What Westwood is doing now is what we wish most of the maybe W towns were doing. So again, questions, or I'll be glad to sign off.
Mr. Rizzoli,
Yes.
did you actually say it was 300 units that they initially wanted to propose to add to the condos near the temple?
This would have been more where the Chase Estate is.
Oh, okay. That's a lot of units.
Yeah, but at George, at that time, it was condos were not allowed in Westwood. So, you know, people said, okay, that's great. Tell them, Lou, that we don't allow condos and they'll go away.
That was
and I
short.
said, that's not the way it goes with 40B.
Lou, the question that came up at FinCom last year was one of money for maintenance. So can you describe what maintenance you do on the houses you own?
Sure. I mean, first, 3 of our houses were donated to WAHA. They weren't in great shape. So we really have had to go in and do some major work in them. And I'm not complaining. Any day of the week, I'll take those 3 as another 3 like that as a donation. But nevertheless, they had a lot of, work to be done on them. And we've come up with a 5-year plan, Chris, where this year, I think last year, the town has given us 150,000 each. Next, we're on the 4th year of a 5-year plan. And we think after that, we'll have brought up all of the units up to speed, so to speak. And the only thing that we would have to do with these units would be to, if the boiler, breaks or something like that. So it's really bringing them up to code is what we're doing. And we took a look at the list Jane did, and Jill Onderdonk was chair before me and unfortunately has passed away. And they went and talked with Pam Dukeman and the select board and and everyone agreed that this would be a good use of the town's money, Chris.
So what maintenance do you expect the people living in the houses to perform as opposed to what those people expect WAHA to perform?
We expect them to not to do any maintenance. WAHA is the landlord on it. I mean, I'm not saying, if there's a leaky faucet, we hope that they can fix it. But as far as going in and, doing a paint job or going down cellar and, changing the electrical system, we don't expect anyone to do it. I don't want anything to happen to these units that something's done wrong because someone, hopefully in good faith, will have tried to fix it and then make more of a mess out of it.
So like on the exterior, if the exterior trim needs to be repainted, then that's something that WAHA would do.
Right. Yes. And quite frankly, Chris, these people have a pretty limited income. I don't think they can afford much.
What is considered affordable housing? What is the condo threshold?
No, Jane is more of an expert in this than I am, but it's 80% of the income. We're in the Boston, Cambridge area. Jane, do you want to?
No, that's exactly right, Lou. That's where we are. And just to be super clear, these are rental units. They're not condo units. They're
Okay.
rentals.
I'm sorry.
And
I thought when they
that's
condo,
okay.
I assume that you
Yeah.
mean units, and they're apartments.
Well, they're rental units. There's single family homes and multi-family homes.
So the people would pay 80% of up to 80% of their income.
That's right. And it's a formula that the state provides every year at this time with the number of people in the family and the size of the units and what the income level is based on the area.
That's rentals.
Yes.
Yeah, they're rentals. I'm sorry, George, if I meant with condos, that's what they wanted to come in with, and that was good. They would have sold those condos, the developer in '86. So we're doing, and I'll tell you, when in '86, Westwood had a pretty good rate. It was like 7 to 8% of our housing was in affordable housing. So the first time we went to DHCD, we said, hey, take a look at 30 other municipalities in a heck of a worse shape than we are. And don't pick on us. So they said yes, and that was true. But all of the units back in the 80s were elderly. You had the Westwood Glen and Highland Glens, and those were at that time they had a 40-year deed restriction that they had to have a third to a half as affordable, and those counted. So the whole units at Westwood Glen and Highland Glen counted for affordable. But like they pointed out, you don't have any family affordable units, Westwood. So,
Lou, quick question, and thanks very much for the time. So the WAHA pays for the maintenance of the rental affordable units.
Yes.
What about the ownership affordable homes in town? That's the maintenance dime is on the homeowner?
Yes.
Right. And does the count of those units, is that included in the count for SHI?
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
So the 20, I think I know it's 25 at Chase Estates, and I think it's 8 at Cedar Hill, but it's around 8.
Right.
So those count.
And so what's the total number now of affordable properties that qualify as affordable? And what's the denominator? What's the total number of properties in town? Where do we stand?
We're not sure. We're waiting to see what they say, what comes back with the census, Tom. But we think we're damn close to the 10%, because you've got, the ones that the state likes that likes to brag about is we do to the state, and they like it, are the rental units. But you've got, say, 25, you get 33, we have, roughly, we have over 50 affordable units in the town.
Okay, cool, great. Thanks, Lou. Appreciate
You're welcome.
How long do folks usually stay in affordable rental units?
It's Diane, that's we've had some that have stayed almost since the beginning, and others that are there 2 or 3 years. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Jane and I went to look at one of the units this summer, and we found the note, and I've left. And they went back to the country, to another country. Let me just say this: the place was immaculate, and they didn't owe us any money. So it was, I assume, some sort of a family emergency. But they were
considered short term, though. It sounds like most people are there a few years.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, majority of people stay. We've had many kids go through the school system, Diane, and these are family units that people, and then they, their life changes, they move on, their circumstance change. Majority of people are single parents, and that they may have changed, their kids go off to school and things change for them. And, we've had several seniors who have lived in units, and, we had somebody pass away recently who was living in one of our units. So just like the rest of Westwood, everybody's situation is different and varies, and just like the rest of the population.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. For the ownership units, they if they own it if they decide they want to sell it within, isn't it 20 years, then it goes back into the pool, but beyond 20 years, then they own it and could sell it for.
It's in perpetuity, Tom. There's no for Cedar Hill and Chase Estates?
Yes,
No, they go back as affordable units.
regardless of how long
Yes.
the property is.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it's
think-
market,
Oh, okay.
it's based on market value of the time they sell, but it is in perpetuity for the,
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Which is, I think, Tom,
Okay.
what you're getting at, it's unlike the Glens that had a deed restriction for 20 years on it. And then
Okay.
they went, but even though after 20 years, they could charge all market rates, both of them were very nice and said, we're not going to kick anyone who's paying, affordable rates out. When they move out, we'll make it a market rate. So they kept some there. Yeah, Tom, what usually happens is the town buys it back from the affordable one, and then they go through the lottery again and sells it.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, James.
does anyone else have any other questions for Lou?
I have a few questions. Lou, you said you were complimented on your success without state and federal monies. What state and federal monies are available?
Oh, most of you've got, if you look like Dedham, Norwood, the housing authorities, they've received money to put up what I consider to be projects in the they would dictate how many units that they would want you to have. So honestly, Jim, I just assume we don't get any money from them. I'd rather that we have more of a more local control over what is there. I mean, we may think of, oh yeah, we'd like to put up, the 10 units there, and they say, oh no, you can make it 20 there or 30. So with there's no such thing as a free lunch. So if they're going to give you money, they're going to have a lot of control over how many units we're going to have.
But it would add more affordable units, right? Wouldn't that be the trade-off? Would get more affordable units?
We would, but there hasn't been. What they've done in the past 2 or 3 bond units that have gone through is they've actually rehabbed, talking about renovations that we have from the town. They've actually gone into Boston and other communities that they financed maybe 20, 30 years ago, and those units are in deplorable condition. And so they've gone into spend the money to rehab them. So they're not doing a heck of a lot of new units with the state. And I'm not criticizing. I think it's the right thing to do. If they came up 20, 30 years ago and financed the project in City X, and now that those units are in really bad shape, they really should be going in and rehabbing them before they decide to finance newer ones.
Is that available to Westwood, or we're too small with only 9 units?
I'm sorry, Jim?
That money that you mentioned about those other towns to finance to rehab, is that available in Westwood, or are we too small? They're not even to look at us.
Yeah, much too small.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Jim.
Anybody else have any questions for Lou?
All right. Well, I didn't put anyone to sleep, so I think I'll end it there.
Lou, thank you so much for being with us, and we will hopefully get to see you again before annual town meeting. We'll bring you back for an update.
All right, great. Any
Appreciate it.
questions you have, feel free to get a hold of me. Jane knows how to, so I'm more than happy. You men and women do a fantastic job. I've been on, assessor, housing, zoning board of appeals, but I've always managed to stay away from FinCom because I knew it was too much work.
Thank you, Lou.
You're welcome. Take
right.
care.
We have one more special guest tonight before we go to voting. Peter Lentz, our former chair, is with us, and he just wanted to take a minute to speak to you all. Everybody who's still speaking with him because he left us. So, Peter, welcome. Where are you, Peter? There he is. Peter, I think you're on mute.
Yep. I thought I had unmuted it, but you can hear me now, right?
Go right ahead, Peter.
Yeah. Okay. No real speech planned or anything like that. Jane asked me if I wanted to attend and say kind of one last goodbye to everyone. And so I'm doing that. First of all, thanks for all the work that you did. I was thinking back at, how successful the town meeting was and all the write-ups and, the write-ups, we get inputs from essentially everyone. And you all did a fantastic job. And I think that was kind of representative of the work that you did last year. So very appreciative of all the help that we got this year. And I think it was obviously a challenging year, but we went through it pretty well. And I do appreciate everything that everyone's done, and look forward to hearing what your vote's going to be.
Thank you, Peter. And anybody else want to comment?
I just want to say thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah, second that. Thank you, Peter. It was a
Yeah.
great year.
And for all the work on OPEB, that really pulled us out of the woods.
Thank you. Certainly a lot of work was done before me, but really happy how OPEB has progressed over time. It's great for the town employees.
Thanks, Peter. Enjoy the new clubhouse.
All right, Tom. Tom, nice to see you moving your head and everything.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling?
Feel great.
Yeah.
Feel great. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, you look good.
No.
Great. Thank you. Peter, you going to stay with us for a little while?
Whatever's the convention here, Jane.
We're happy to have you if you'd like to stay. We won't let you vote though, because you left us. So
Yeah, right.
Does anyone else have any comments before I start the voting process?
Yeah, Jane, I have a couple of comments. Just
Yes.
maybe
Please, George.
very, very brief. First of all, I think Peter was an example of the wonderful experience we've had with chairs over the last 3 years. 3 years ago, we had a discussion about how long chairs should serve. And I think we've learned that with Julie McBride, Barbara Delisle, and Peter Lentz, each served 1-year terms, and in my opinion, did excellent jobs and brought a very, very refreshing approach to the chairing of the FinCom. So as members sit back, I think if you got 1 or 2 years under your belt and you sort of learn the ropes, don't be shy about wanting to be chair. You don't have to be on the FinCom, for too long to, I think, bring a very fresh approach. So I just would encourage everybody to, I think it's been excellent having a new chair every year. And Peter was I think one of the best we've had in a while. The second observation I wanted to make is, having participated in a special town meeting in the past, usually the summer is a little bit of a relaxation time for FinCom, but I think given the importance of this school project vote in a special town meeting, that I really feel that FinCom members need to be prepared to roll up their sleeves and really get to work over the summer. It's probably the largest potential override vote we will have had in the history of Westwood, and it's got a lot of implications. So whomever emerges as chair, I would encourage that person to maybe even set up a working committee that can sort of roll our sleeves up over the summer and get to work on this. I know that the school building committee and the superintendent will be actively out talking about the project. And I really think FinCom shouldn't wait to get involved in the process. So just some thoughts. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, George. That's very helpful. Is everybody feel like they're ready to vote?
Jane, it might be a good idea to maybe go through what the exact process is with the vote.
I will do that for you, George. I just wanted to, before we do that, if anybody has any more comments or questions or anything like that, I just want to let the new folks, if you are not sworn in, you cannot vote. So
Okay, that was my question.
yes, before I forget to say that. So, and we'll get you sworn in, we'll get you to Dottie and get you sworn in. So how the process works is, it's very simple. I will open I think if it would probably be helpful, I don't know if you'll feel like we're stepping on each other, but if we could open everybody's mics up and make sure your screens are on. And what I'm going to do is I will just open us up to nominating. And what we need to do is if somebody does make a nomination, we'll need to get a second on that. And then we'll, if we have 3 or 4 people who want to be nominated, we'll get a second on each nomination. And then when people, if potential chairs wanted to talk for a minute about their interest in, why they're interested in being the chair, that would be fine. And then when everybody's comfortable, we will begin a vote. We have to do a roll call vote because we're on video. And we're remote, so we need to do that. So I would call the name of the person who had been seconded, and I'll roll call, and it's either yay or nay. And then we'll do the same thing for each person, potential candidate, and whoever gets the most votes is our new chair. Also, if we are tonight, folks want to do the vice chair. The new chair has the prerogative to ask to appoint a vice chair, or the new chair can make the recommendation to have, if there's several people who are interested in that, then we would do the same process and vote for a vice chair. But it is the chair's prerogative to elect to appoint their vice chair. So do you have questions? Any questions?
And one quick question.
Yes, Tom.
Is it, I don't know if this is allowed or appropriate or not, but if there are folks that are, that would like to be chair, would it be appropriate and okay for those folks to say a few words prior to voting?
100%.
As opposed to sort of a blind
I agree completely. Yes. First of all, they have to accept that they would like to be nominated. And then, yes, we should absolutely give everybody a chance to say yes before we do any voting. Yes, we won't vote until you're all
Great.
comfortable. Everybody needs to be
Great. Thank
completely
you.
comfortable and ready. Everybody good? Okay, I'd like to open up nominations for chair.
Jane, can I nominate Diane McCarthy?
Yes, you can. Can I get a second on that nomination?
I'll second.
Thank you. And Diane, would you like to accept that nomination?
I would, yes.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate George Hertz.
And can I get a second on that nomination?
Second.
Thank you, Diane.
Jane, can I, do I have
George,
the option?
can I just,
Yeah, can I decline that if I deem I want to do that?
I was just going to ask you, do you accept that nomination?
No, I'd prefer to decline it at this point in time.
You decline, okay.
Yes.
Do we have other nominations?
Chris, last year you expressed some interest in the chair. Are you still interested?
Chris Pereira, you're on mute, Chris.
I can't operate a mute button. I would rather defer this year, but thanks very much for that vote of confidence, Jim.
Okay, Chris is not interested in, we didn't make a nomination, but that was a good question, Jim. Anybody else? So lots of folks have their mute buttons on, so I'm just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone before we go ahead. Is everybody ready to take a vote, or
Yes.
Diane, would you like to say a few words about what might be on your mind?
Yeah, I guess what's on my mind primarily is what we're all here for right now, which is the new school project. And I've been chairing the school committee for now for several years. And I think this is a critical point in the town, for the town and for this committee to really, focus in on this in a really clear way and provide a lot of material and education for the town. So it felt like a decent time for me to step up to do this if, you would like me to.
Thank you, Diane. Does everyone on FinCom feel ready to vote? I don't see any other, or hear any other nominations. No hands are raised. Would everybody feel comfortable? We'll do a first round of voting.
Move
At
to
this
close the
point?
nominations.
All right, so I'm not going to accept any more nominations as long as everybody's ready. Okay, I'm hearing none, so I'm going to call the roll to elect Diane McCarthy as our chair for the 21-22 season. Bill Bruce,
Yes.
Jim Ferraro,
Yes.
Lauren Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
George Hertz,
Yes.
Peter Ittig,
Yes.
Caitlin Jerzak,
Yes.
Tom Kilgariff,
Yes.
George Laham,
Yes.
Diane McCarthy.
Do I abstain?
No, I think you should vote for yourself.
Yes.
Christina, I'm not going to do, Chris Pareda.
Yes.
And by unanimous vote, we have a new chair. Congratulations, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
So it's my pleasure to turn this meeting over to, to a perfect chair for this year, given what we have ahead of us for the schools. So congratulations and thank you, Diane, for serving.
Well, thank you, Jane. I'm not exactly sure what I do next. You did say that it's the chair's prerogative to ask for someone to serve as vice chair. Is that true? And is
Yes, so it is your prerogative. You can either ask to appoint someone or you can open it up for nominations. It's whatever you would like to do.
So I really feel like I'm going to need a lot of support this year because, I'm relatively new at this, and I would very, very, very much appreciate if I could ask George Hertz to serve as the vice chair to help me along.
George, we're going to put you on the spot.
Diane, that would be absolutely a privilege. I really enjoyed supporting Peter Lentz as vice chair, and I look forward to supporting you if you're comfortable with that. That would be my pleasure.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I think you've got a dynamic duo here.
Very appreciative, George. Thank you.
Okay,
So, Diane, I'm going to turn this meeting over to you. In your packet, we have the schedule for the special election.
So we have a September 8 meeting for the initial presentation of the special town meeting warrant articles by the article sponsors. So I'm assuming, Jane, am I right that this is simply the school project? There's
Yes,
one.
it is.
There's just one, right?
Yes.
That's what we're focused on. Okay.
What we're anticipating will happen is sometime later in August, the select board will open and close the warrant to just for the special town meeting. There is one article, which is the borrowing article, and there may be a second article that is being worked on now. I don't have details yet, but Chris Coleman and I had a conversation. I've already also had a conversation with Emily. They're very comfortable with these dates. As George said, the school committee and the school building committee and the superintendent and her staff are now, right as school ends, regrouping, and they're going to have a whole campaign, an education campaign about the schools. So we'll be hearing a lot from them, but they will be coming before us on that first meeting date. If there are other warrant articles, there is the remote possibility that the select board would need to call a fall town meeting. They do not want to do that because they want it to be all about the schools this fall, but they will have more information on that, in August as well. So their goal is to, have this all schools all the time this fall, and then, look at the annual town meeting for any other warrant articles. But if something came up that needed to be done, we would have to have a fall town meeting, which would be separate from the special town meeting. But that's not anticipated.
So there's a special town meeting scheduled for October 18th for the sole purpose of the school vote. Is that right?
That is right.
And what you're saying is if there are other articles, there would be a separate town
There
meeting.
potentially could be a separate town meeting, a fall town meeting in November. Nobody is, hoping for that. But if something happened that we needed to have a town meeting, it would be that November date, that first Monday in November, I think it is, or second Monday in November, around the 9th.
So Jane, do I understand this correctly then? And George, you're going to help me out here a whole lot. If there is a second warrant article that requires a second town meeting, then this committee is going to have to do all of the work related to that second warrant article for the second town meeting, correct?
Any other warrant articles, not the second one. If the second one would be school related, that
Okay.
would be at the special. If there was some other, like some kind of a financial, something that was unanticipated, some kind of, that was a very high priority that could not be pushed off to the spring, that would be when we would have to do it, that November fall town meeting. That is, again, not anticipated. Nobody wants that, and nobody's seeing anything that would alert them to that we would need to do that. But I just have to let you all know that, there would be a remote possibility. It would be a really last ditch effort that we would have to do that. So it looks like right now we're going to be in September, and then the 8th would be our first meeting, and then the 20th would be our public hearing, and then the special town meeting would be in October. October 18th, right after that, there'll be a special election because they need to vote for the articles.
Okay, right, got it.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, Jane, a couple of questions though. Do you have a schedule? Can we get a schedule of what the special school building committee is going to be doing? In other words, what their meetings are, and what are we allowed to attend and participate in as FinCom members? Because I don't really think we can wait till September 8th.
So that's a really good point, George, and I was thinking about it when you were speaking. I think it would be appropriate for us to reach out if you would approve of this, I would reach out to Emily, and so to number one, she's already promised me as soon as they have their whole packet together of what they're planning, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, she's going to get that to us. But also it may be beneficial to we have for many years, we've had liaisons. So it might be sensible to have a liaison to the maybe school building or something like that, or to the special committee that's putting together the packet to send out to residents regarding all of this. So I think that might be worth pursuing. And if you and Diane and I could maybe have a conversation after this meeting and do some thinking around that.
So I've been going to the school building committee meetings. There is one this Friday morning. I do think it would be great if we could get their schedule of meetings. And if they have ideas about what their agendas will be for those meetings.
I'll follow up on that, Diane, and get that for you tomorrow.
Okay, great, thank you. The other thing is, George, you commented earlier on your thinking that we might want to put together, rather than have the entire committee take a look at this, all the details, we might want to put together a smaller subcommittee to really try to understand the finances of the building committee, of the school project, which I think are complicated. And, I've been trying to dig into this for years as chair of the school subcommittee, and I have to say, I don't really understand it. I would very much appreciate if folks are interested in that, if you would let me know if you're interested in sitting on that small subcommittee. And then I think probably George and I will talk and reach out to some of you individually to ask you if you would be willing to do that. I'm thinking, I agree with George, and I don't know how other people feel about this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. I think that we do need to sort of dig into this over the course of the summer and try really hard to understand the cost of this project. I know that a lot of people have been talking to me about it, and they're very concerned about the cost. They're not concerned about a new school building. They think we need one, and they're very committed to it. But I think they are concerned about the cost. And I think the best that we could be educated about that and educate the community about that, the better off the community will be and the easier that town meeting will be. I'd like us to dig into that some with the course of the summer. How do people feel about this?
Diane, can I jump in for a minute? I think you hit the nail on the head. Everybody says is for a new school, but the main question everybody asks is what Dr. Peter always asks. How will it affect taxes? And to cut him off before he asks the question, I think it'll be a good idea to get a breakdown and really see what's going on, what the cost is. Because when we did a little bit of an analysis last year, you know, it's not going to cost us 88 million. It's not going to cost us the, 70 million. You know, we would be required to do 41 or 42 million of it if we didn't build a new school. We'd just be required to do that to bring it to current. So really I don't know if the correct term is the opportunity cost really here is, give or take, it's like 20, it's about, 42 to 70, you're talking about 28 million. So that's really the cost or the difference to doing the school. And again, I'm remembering these numbers off the top of my head from 4 months ago, but that's really the cost of a new school. We would have to do and I think that's what has to be conveyed. Regardless, we can do nothing and have to pay 42 million, or do a new school, get the federal assistance, and then pay an extra 28 million. So I think if we do pursue this and go forward with it with the subcommittee and understanding it, I think those are the numbers that need to be presented, because we all live in the town. Real estate taxes are what they are, but they are what they are, and our houses are worth what they're worth. And the community is as what it is because of the school system. Westwood's built around that. And that's the point I think that needs to be driven home. Not that it's going to cost 88 million, because it's not. So, I mean, that's what I think needs to be corrected in everybody's minds.
I have an observation I would like to make. In addition to the finances for the override that we're going to be facing immediately, I understand that there are plans at some stage to rebuild the Sheehan School, probably not in the distant future. And I'm interested in what that schedule is and what that is likely to cost, so that we can consider the big picture of the town's finances and right. So that's a concern. I think it would be good to know what the large picture is for scheduling of overrides that might be coming quite soon, particularly the Sheehan School.
I think that's a great point, and I don't think it's just the Sheehan School. I think we would be wise to be educated by the select board as to the other capital projects that the town's going to be facing in the next 5 years, so that we can be very well informed, and the town can be well informed about what to anticipate. Other comments?
Yeah, I mean, I just agree, Diane, that I think we should meet over the course of the summer. I mean, if to George's point, who's been on the committee for a long time, this is one of the most important votes in years and years, and a big vote. And I think it's incumbent on us being on the committee to fully understand the details before we make a recommendation. So yes, we can have a subcommittee that goes even deeper, but I think we should meet over the course of the summer. September 8th is going to come quick.
Yep, I agree. So Jane, to that point, I assume that we can schedule our meetings as we choose. These dates that you gave us in September, they're the dates we have to have. But if we wanted to, as a committee, say that we're going to meet once a month for June, July, and August, or even more often, we could. Yes? And if we as a committee wanted to ask people to come in and speak with us about a very specific issue, can we do that?
We can ask. I think there, I don't want to speak for Emily or for anybody else, but I think they're trying to get through the end of the school year after a very difficult year. And I think then they are going to dive in and put their plan together. So we can certainly say, I think it makes sense to talk to them about the timeline. You've been going to all the school building committee meetings, Diane, all along. And we certainly can, and I think they would be willing, but I think they're going to need a little time to get, to have the time around them to put their plan together. They just haven't had that this year with everything else they've been going through.
Yeah,
So it makes sense to do what we originally said, to check in, see where they're at, see what their plan is, as George said, get the schedule. And then from there, you absolutely can make some decisions and plan some meetings. That can certainly happen.
Yeah, Diane, one of the things I think we can do is we can sort of structure what information we think we're going to need and put that out. The other thing is we can also meet with other town officials to get a sense of where they see other non-school priorities in the 5-year capital plan. And I think we can also probably, sit down and work with Pam to get a true understanding. And you can make some assumptions early on. If we had to do X, Y, and Z, what's the implication? How do we finance it? What are the impact? In other words, almost like we would sort of fill out the diagram of what the boxes we got to fill in. And I think Jane has raised an important point. We can probably figure out what we want from the school committee and the building committee. We probably have to be a little bit sensitive to the schedule they're going through the summer and work around it with them, so that they don't feel like we're imposing. Yet, on the other hand, we have a responsibility at the end of the day to educate the town on the vote.
Yeah. Right.
And just to your point, George, the borrowing article will be from the bondsman. That's very cut and dry. So just like we had, in this past town meeting, and, Pam is working on that, and the school building committee is working on that, obviously the consultants. So absolutely, I think that can all happen. It's just, we have to give some time and space for them to have the opportunity to do what they need to do.
Right. Yep. I think we can work that into our schedule.
Yes.
So Jane, maybe, I know we can talk offline, but maybe members ought to think about, and I really would encourage some of the new members too, if we set up a working group to get going on this, I would encourage those who want to, wrap up their sleeves and help us over the summer to let Jane or the chair know. And I really would encourage 1 or 2 of the new members to jump into this. Okay, it'll be a great learning process for you, and you'll probably bring a fresh perspective too.
Yeah, thanks, George. I agree.
I suggest that if we do meet during the summer, apart from September 8th, I know Pam is probably planning on being at the September 8th meeting.
She is.
But before that, we should have Pam address the entire commission on the big picture issues that were raised, like, just what is the effect of certain projects or hypothetically certain bonds, and because she knows best how that's going to work with regard to the town finances.
Great idea.
Good. So anybody who's interested, just pop me an email and I'll get that list to Diane and George.
And even if you don't say so, don't be surprised if your phone rings.
Yes.
Great.
Any other comments about this? So are we in agreement that we will meet over the summer? Does it seem like once a month is enough if we have this smaller committee, working more diligently, and the smaller committee will report back to all of FinCom? Does that seem like a reasonable proposal? People are shaking their heads. I don't see any vehement no's in the group. All right. So decided. Jane, if you will send us some dates for us to meet in June, July, and August.
I think it makes sense, Diane, to let's understand more clearly when the school information will be ready, and then we'll set up some dates then.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. I think we will ask Pam to come to one of those and talk to us about the larger town issues. I think that'd be really helpful. What else is on people's minds? What is that? Is or are on people's minds about this subject?
Well, I'll say again, Diane, I think it's one of the biggest projects we're going to have to deal with in a long time. It's got major implications. And I think George said, everybody feels that we do need a new school. The issue is, what's the scope of the new school? How does it impact the finances of the town? How does it affect other requirements the town has? At the end of the day, we are an incredibly well-run town for our size and our financial capability. But part of that is we also have got a lot of things on our plate over the next few years we got to get done. And I think the town clearly is going to look to FinCom to vet this, because it's becoming very complicated financially. And so I think we've got both to understand it, get comfort ourselves, but also make sure we really reach out to educate the community on this. So when they come to vote, the issues, whether they're in favor or against, we've identified them, we've talked about them. There's nothing we haven't thought about. Would be if we ever achieve that, I would think that would be a tremendous success.
Agreed. All right, we got a plan. Great.
We'll also know after June 15th if we will be, what the governor directs us to do in terms of remote meetings versus in person. So that's on our agenda too, to be thinking about as we plan meetings.
Okay, great. We have two missing members, Jane. You said two of the new members were not able to be with us tonight. Can you do me a favor and reach out to those two individually, tell them what we spoke about and ask them if they're interested in joining, a smaller group to focus on this?
Sure.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Jane, what else do we have?
So next on our agenda is we need to talk about new member training. And we are going to do that. I didn't want to make any plans until we had the new chair and the vice chair in place. So we're going to do, I think we'll do a little talking about what we want that to look like and how we plan to manage that. We had a lot of feedback last year about training. So just wanted to let new members know that we will be doing some training for you and some mentoring for you. And that's more to come now that we have a chair and a vice chair in place. So the other thing is I'll be sending out, now that we have a full commission, I'll be sending out tomorrow to everyone a contact sheet that just everybody who's been on the commission, just let me know if you have any updates. Other than that, I have the new folks information on there, and then you'll have an updated contact list. And then the only other thing we need to do, Diane, is we need to approve the minutes from our March 29th final public hearing, whenever you're ready to do that.
Okay, I guess the only thing I would say to the new members is FinCom, in my opinion, can be a little overwhelming. It takes a few years to sort of feel like, oh, got it, and even then you don't really have it. I'm always asking George questions all the time. So please feel free, ask questions, call me, call George, call somebody else on the committee, and just ask if you're not sure, or if it doesn't seem right, or just, what's our role and what are we doing? Please ask. I think we do a lot of work. We spend a lot of hours doing it, and it's a fabulous group. So, George has been a great mentor to me, and I encourage you to take advantage of other mentorship on the committee.
Yeah, and let me add one thing. I've offered over the last couple of years, any new member, if it's getting together for a cup of coffee, if it's sitting down, please, I'm there. Just view me as a resource, okay? And the other thing is, your opinion counts. I think one of the things the town moderator has said that I absolutely agree with, the FinCom reflects the community we're in. And you'll find out that we don't agree on everything all the time, but we respect each other's opinion. So don't be shy about speaking up. Your opinion is as important as anybody else's. And so enjoy the process, okay?
Absolutely.
Diane?
Yeah.
I know that we're focused on the closest thing ahead of us, and that's totally appropriate. But one of the things we usually do at this June meeting is to start thinking about how we want to organize for the next spring town meeting into subcommittees for education, municipal, and the like. So I just want to make sure everyone gets you their preference, and if and maybe you can speak to what are the options.
Yeah, Chris, thank you. Jane, would you do me the favor of running down the various subcommittees that we have always had?
Sure. So we have the Education Subcommittee, and we have the Municipal Subcommittee, which is all the municipal divisions. And we also have what we have been calling sort of the Planning Board Zoning Subcommittee that Jim and Lauren and I forget who the other person was on this year. And then we also have done like a long range kind of liaison George was doing for us to look ahead at finances. For some time we had OPEB, but we've sort of moved that into, because it's stabilized into our regular, we have one person who usually writes up the report, but the subcommittees are at your discretion. So it can be anything that you all think is important and relevant at the time. We always need education and municipal for the budgets, but other than that, it's, at your discretion.
And to the new members, the subcommittees are chaired by somebody who's pretty senior, has done it for a year or two. And then, you join that committee and work with that person. It's really interesting work. I have to tell you, I mean, I've been doing the school committee for a while, and it's so fascinating to learn about that budget and to sit and meet with the superintendent and her staff and understand what they're thinking and the direction of that they want to take the schools. And I know the municipal budget is the same. I know that people really enjoy those conversations and learn a lot. So I really encourage you to get very, very involved in the subcommittees. Chris, thank you for bringing that to our attention. If you have a preference of what you'd like to do, please let Jane know or let me know directly. So that the school committee, just so folks know, that's just normally the school budget. That's their regular school budget. This of course is very different when we're looking at the building project, but in the spring it will be meeting with the school administration around the budget. It's really interesting.
And can you speak about the other subcommittees, like what the municipal covers and others?
Yeah, who chaired municipal? Can somebody speak to that?
Tommy.
Yes. So the municipal subcommittee, we cover, police, fire, DPW, housing, and economic, and what's Nora's department again, Jane?
Community and economic development.
Community and economic development.
Library, rec.
Right, and library and rec. And what we do, as Diane and Jane mentioned, we meet with the department heads, fire chief, police chief, department heads of those various departments, and we get a Q&A opportunity. We typically present them questions in advance, so that they are able to have some good data and answers prepared and whatnot. And then, but then we go through sort of a Q&A and kind of dig into some numbers, and it's a great opportunity to get into more detailed discussion about some things that is maybe more difficult, and when you're when you're dealing with the whole FinCom and that traditional setting. So like Diane said, it's really a great opportunity to kind of get into the nitty gritty on some things, and then it's satisfying and rewarding too to see some of the folks we have working for the town and how really lucky we are.
Jane, do we have online the subcommittee reports that new members may want to look at?
It's in the book, George.
Oh, I was just at the book right now. Where is it? It is in the book. Okay.
Yes, at the front of the book.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, I got it right here.
George, you
Okay.
didn't read my write-up, George?
Of course.
What's up with that?
No, I read the write-ups, but did we actually include the full subcommittee reports that the subcommittees made to FinCom?
Yes.
Okay, all right, and I would just, the new members should really take a look at those, because those presentations, that gives you basically, that's the result of the work. Okay, that goes into our recommendations. So I would assume, Jane, maybe if they don't have a copy of the book, get it to them.
Oh, you bet. We've got many copies available, many, many, many copies.
Okay.
Yes, and honestly, sincerely, the best thing for new people to do is take a look at the book. Not only because it shows you the work that FinCom does, but the back of the book is every single piece of financial information you'll ever need or, to have available that Pam Dupin and her team puts together for us every year. That's the back half. So it really is, we call it the Bible of FinCom, and for a good reason.
Jim, what did you chair last year?
Jim's the planning board.
Planning board.
Right.
Right.
So we just basically follow the planning board with all the developments and zoning changes around town.
And they do all the writing. That group does all the writing for the planning board articles. So that's a really important group. And they, particularly these last couple of years, Jim and Lauren have done really great work around those articles.
Yeah, there've been some significant ones the last couple of years. I don't know if we're anticipating the same level of activity from the planning board this year. I don't know if we would know that, Jane, would we?
Not yet. We're way ahead of ourselves at this point.
One thing you could do, I don't know, is the planning board meeting over the course of the summer? You might sit in a
Yes.
planning board meeting. If you want to just educate yourself about these kinds of things, that's a great way to do that. And then to sit in on a select board meeting, that's also a great way. And
yes, and they'll be meeting too.
Those are great ways to just begin to, learn about some of these issues that we focus on.
Jane, if the governor goes back to the way meetings used to be, for example, the select board, we can still watch the select board meetings online,
100%.
correct?
Yeah, they'll be streaming live on Westwood Media Center like we are, or you can go back, 24 hours later and they're on there.
So for new members, you don't have to physically go, even if the law changes, you
That's
can
a great,
observe it.
no, just
Okay.
as always has happened. Westwood Media Center will be there for us.
Yep.
Okay.
same
They are right now.
All of the committees, just us, you could watch us again. I know it's fascinating.
Diane, along those lines, I think that at least for me, the flexibility of the Zoom meeting for the FinCom meetings made me join the FinCom even possible. So I think if it's possible, I don't know the regulations or anything like that, to continue to have the FinCom meetings on Zoom. I'm not sure if there's any more of a benefit to meeting live as meeting to Zoom, but if we can keep them on Zoom, that would be beneficial.
So we were talking about that at the beginning while we were waiting. So the governor will make that decision by June 15th. And if they do decide, approve of coming up with some kind of a hybrid, they will have to rewrite the laws that exist now. So there'll be a lot more to come on that, I think, George, shortly, as to how that will look.
Jane, but even in the old system, you were allowed some level of, you didn't have to attend every meeting. Weren't you allowed a couple of attendances remotely if you couldn't make a meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so George, there is some flexibility. I agree with you. It's not as good as having the Zoom option. I mean, to me, a hybrid would be fabulous. But because the other one was it telephonically, Jane?
Yes, it was very cumbersome. So we were I think Chris and I were talking about that. you can absolutely call in remotely, but we don't have the technology in the library, and maybe that has changed now. I will certainly check into that, but you have to phone in. And so it was always really cumbersome for the people calling in, for us having to manage it on our end in the community meeting room. So
Well, the question is, could we say we had to meet in person, but one member was had a business trip and couldn't attend? Or are we allowed to use, instead of the telephone, Zoom for that member to attend?
that's all going to be determined. I think all of that's coming out. They're looking
that
at
would be-
all of that now.
That would
Yeah.
be nice if that
I mean, I
happened.
think it would
Okay,
be great for residents if they could continue to, participate via Zoom. I think we had a lot of people attend meetings that way that might not have, come physically to the meeting. So, I think that would be a wonderful opportunity for residents to be able to be home and still be a part of it and, share their thoughts. But that's all, they're looking at that now. So we should know more mid to late June on all of that.
okay.
Thank you.
All right. Christina and Alex, any other questions for us that you can think of now?
No, thanks. I've got the document up from the site. Can read through that and send you an email on subcommittee thoughts.
Great.
Good.
Yep, and not at the moment, just if we can get a schedule of the meetings, so that I can build it into my calendar.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes.
Any other comments before we move to approval of the March 29 minutes? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the March 29 minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Who's that, Chris?
Yep.
Thank you.
Jane, do you have to do a roll call?
I do. Bill Bruce,
Yes.
Jim Ferraro,
Yes.
Lauren Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
George Hertz,
Yes.
Peter Idig,
Yes.
Keelan Jerzak,
Yes.
Tom Kilgariff,
Yes.
George Laham,
Yes.
Diane McCarthy,
Yes.
Chris Pareda.
Yes.
Great. That was a unanimous approval. And Diane, I do need to do a roll call when you call to adjourn. So.
Okay, just a reminder, please be in touch with Jane or I if you are interested in sitting on the smaller school committee. Please think about other subcommittee and assignments for that and send us an email on that. Please feel free to call if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments. And with that, what's public and press, Jane?
We don't have anybody, nobody's on, but I don't see anybody in the chat. We don't have anybody. So that would normally be when we call for public and press to ask questions or make comments, but we don't have anybody tonight.
Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn.
Who is that? Is that George?
I
Thank
made the
you.
motion.
All right. And
Second.
thank you, Chris. And William Bruce,
Yes.
Jim Ferraro,
Yes.
Lauren Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
George Hertz,
Yes.
Peter Idig,
Yes.
Caitlin Jerzak,
Yes.
Tom Kilgariff,
Yes.
George Laham,
Yes.
Diane McCarthy,
Yes.
Chris Pareda.
Yes.
8:25, we have a motion to adjourn. Thank you so much, everybody, for such a good meeting. Congratulations to Diane and George. We're in really good hands.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right, have a good night, everyone.
Be in touch
Everybody
shortly.
take care.
See you soon.
Thank you. Good night.